Hey guys, I'm Craig, and today for the Surfboard Guide, we're going to check out the Hip Toe by Campbell Designed Surfboard. So this is the Hip Toe by Campbell Designed Surfboards. You might be familiar with them. We checked out the Toe by Campbell Design, also in their Exoflex technology about 2 years ago. This is the Hip Toe. So a bit of a, they say it's a sort of step down performance shortboard for smaller average beach break conditions. And we recently did our full review. We went to URBNSURF and checked out a whole range of boards. I'll put a link to that above. But yeah, this is one of the EPS shapes we took down. We took down a bunch of EPS boards to see how they went in the pool, and a couple of PUs we snuck in as well. But the Hip Toe was something we checked out there. So a bunch of surfing you'll see in the review in the pool, but also able to check it out in the ocean since returning, see how it went, all that sort of stuff. So this is the stock 5.9, and it is 5.9, 23/8, 2 9/16, and it's 33.3 litres. I'm 5'10 and a half, 5'11 on a good day, and 95, 96 kilos, about 94 on a good day. Yeah, and it's 33.3 litres. In a shortboard, I normally ride kind of 31 to 33 litres. So this kind of in my volume range, and felt pretty good on like volume and float. Looking over the Hip Toe, pretty cool outline. Through the front, it's got this really nice performance shortboard kind of outline. And then coming through the board, holds a lot of width. So at 23/8, it's quite 20, yeah, 3/8. Or 5/8, 3/8, I think it's 3/8. Yeah, let's say 3/8. 23/8 quite wide. And then a really cool characteristic you can probably see is that hip, which I reckon is why it gets the name Hip Toe. And I got some comments from our URBNSURF review, said, oh, why'd they call it the Hip Toe? There's already a board called a Hip Toe. It's not the Hip Toe, like the Hayden Shapes Hip Toe. It is hip, as in your hip, and toe as in your toe. Anyway, so Hip Toe. And I think the hip comes from this little hip here. Yeah, we did check out the Toe. We also checked out the Sacrificial by Campbell Design. I'll put a link to that as well. Sick board, one of the funnest, favorite little small wave boards I've ridden in a long time. But we're here to talk about the Hip Toe, so we'll talk about that. Yeah, performance outline, cool hip off the back. Rocker is a pretty low. They say it's low, so I think it's pretty flat throughout the board, but it just kind of gently lifts through the front and out through the front. You know, the deck and bottom rock is very similar, follows a similar suite, and it just kind of thins out. So a lot of hold and volume through the belly and back. With a lot of these boards, you'll see a volume a lot further forward, and I'll talk a bit more about that later, but it feels like the volume is further back, which is really good and feels really good when you're surfing, you're moving, you're turning. It just doesn't want to stop and it keeps going. Flipping it over. I couldn't find anything online or speak to the guys, but believe it's a single in the front, I'm gonna guess, and you can definitely feel a double through the back. Double, not too aggressive. It's quite a nice kind of smooth double, feels really good. And then it seems to flatten out. So behind the back fin, just flattens out. So no V and not really a double through the exit. The double seems to finish up somewhere around that center fin. So single to double, tested, tried, proven. Concave's been around for a long time in kind of more performance shortboard shapes. Just water's going to flow through really easy to surf, be nice and fast, get across flat water, generate speed, everything really easy, and just be super easy to surf. Another cool thing about the Hip Toe, we've checked it out a few times now in the Toe and the Sacrificial. It's in their Exoflex technology. So this just like blows my mind. It's such an epic technology, and I'm hoping we see more Campbell Design boards out in the market, but also probably more shapers grabbing the Exoflex technology. So through the center, there is a like a suspension, like a spring they call it, but people kind of get rattled like a coil spring. It's not like a coil spring going from like tip to tail. It's a leaf spring. Similar to a leaf spring. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, like in Australia, if you look at old full drives like Land Cruisers, like old Troopies and a whole bunch of different cars, they'll have a leaf spring in the rear. So rather than having like a coil, you'll have a leaf spring which kind of will bend over. So the leaf spring sits through the center And you know, I don't want to go into the tech side too much, and I'd love to chat to Stu and Ryan Campbell from Campbell Design a bit more detail about that later, because I think it's such a unique and epic design, and it feels freaking awesome. But it just feels really good under your feet. Feels very unique. There's some really good EPS technologies out there, and you know, the shapers, designers, and that have put some effort into making them work. You know, Hayden Shapes and a lot with a Futureflex, and this. They really work and they're really good. So this feels epic under the feet, and I'd actually like to get the boys, you know, onto the review or a podcast or something down the track to talk about it in more detail, because I think more people need to learn about the Exoflex technology. So the hip toe was something we took down to URBNSURF, and we surfed in, I think, a variety of settings from intermediate, advanced, and advanced turns. So intermediate is a really cool wave setting. I actually really enjoyed, because while it wasn't the biggest wave, I felt like I really knew where I could move, do turns, and this felt absolutely epic. Like I said, the volume of this board, it actually thins out quite a bit, which I found hard in the barrel because I wanted to move up the board, and I didn't like that too much. But I'm quite heavy guy riding quite low volume. But when I was surfing and turning and just wanting to like really like rip, like, you know, turns, quite progressive surfing, the thing was unflappable. It got me, I find also, I end up moving up boards a long way to get speed and drive. I felt like on the hip toe, I think a lot to do with the distribution of foam being further back in the board and it holding a lot of foam under my back foot, which I absolutely love. I could really sit back on the boards. There's not many boards where I find myself sitting right up near the tail pad kick, but on this I found myself really over, there's like a mini arch bar on this pad, but really over that arch bar and really close to the kick. So if you ever see any footage or whatever, you'll see some dents where I've moved up the board different times during turns, but a lot of my surfing is over the front fins rather than over the rear fin. But what was cool with the hip toe, and kind of wigged me out at first, I couldn't, so with moving my foot right back and also having this hip, felt crazy loose at first, but once I got used to that, I also changed up the fins, which I'll talk more about later. I just love the way it surfed. I could actually sit back and surf really progressively. Coming back home and grabbing it in the ocean back home, there's nothing the thing can't do. Absolutely loved it. I've been able to surf it in waves from kind of knee to waist high when it's very, very small. At 33.3 liters, has amazing paddle power. And the single to double concave, the flat rocker, and the Exoflex technology has lots of get up and go speed. So it's been an absolute favorite getting it back home into saltwater waves in the ocean, and absolutely can't fault it. But yeah, at URBNSURF, thing felt epic when you want to surf. Intermediate setting, advanced turns. When you were turning, you're wanting to move to generate speed. It could turn really well in steep pockets. It could also go out on the shoulder. There wasn't too much this thing couldn't do. I only struggled a little bit in the barrel. I felt like I had to move forward, and it didn't really like me moving forward. So there's a couple of barrels I didn't quite come out of. But saying that, the only other board I really surfed in the barrel was like a longer drawn out shortboard and something very similar. So I don't know if it's just the shorter board didn't really like it, but I found myself kind of up a long way and not getting out of barrels. But I don't know, the barrels are really cool, but I love being able to do really cool turns, progress my surfing, and then take what I learned from that pool out into the ocean. So the hip toe allowed me to surf the best I could, do really cool turns, really progress things, and then, you know, taking the ocean back home, hip toe's been, you know, I can't fault it. In fins, the hip toe had futures, and when I surfed it for a few of my surfs and when I did a little mini review at URBNSURF, I had the AM2s, because first I put the R8 Blackstix in it, which are the raked new Blackstix, and they felt okay, but I found myself jump in, switch the fins, and the AM2s felt really good. They're such a lively fin, even though they're not like an epoxy fin with speed generating foil, but they felt really lively and it felt really good. And then I spoke to Ryan from Campbell Design. He said, hey, try an upright fin just to kind of help control the looseness that comes from this hip. And I did the F8 in the Blackstix, which is large and it's a neutral. So it's more towards sort of an upright fin, not quite as raked as the R8. And this felt absolutely epic. Normally, I don't like more pivoty. I like rake fins. I don't normally like upright fins, but these felt absolutely epic. So the F8s by Blackstix, they're Blackstix, these are the new Blackstix series by Futures. They're an epoxy construction, and they've got their Blackstix speed generating foil. So I was really keen, and I checked this out. You'll see it in a few different boards that have Futures. I've gone for the speed generating foil. Sometimes in man-made waves, such as Urban Surf, they tend to have just a little bit less push. So I felt that getting something like the Blackstix was going to be perfect for the pool. So Futures just released all the new Blackstix range. I grabbed the F8s, the R8s, and also the Twin +1, which were epic. And these felt really good. I was actually kind of tempted to put the Twin +1s as well, but I didn't go there. But I think that would actually be really cool, that liveliness of a Twin Plus stabilizer. But these F8s by Futures, the Blackstix, felt absolutely epic. And then coming home in the water, these feel great again. I haven't really changed them. Overall, the hip toe was absolutely epic. Who was the hip toe for? It's a very performance orientated design, but I think it's also forgiving for a whole range of surfers. They've been able to jam in a kind of shortboard-esque outline, 33.3 litres. So I'd really recommend the hip toe for almost anyone looking for more of a performance shape to take in the pool or in the ocean or whatever. But also what I think the hip toe would be really good if you're someone who, you know, is a bigger, heavier guy and you're riding higher volumes, but you don't want to be riding like a 6.5 or 6.6 to get your volume. I'd look at the hip toe to get your volume in a nice, shorter package. It's going to be nice and condensed, and you can still do very performance surfing without having to go this big, oversized, long shortboard. This hip is super maneuverable, and so if you're carrying a lot of foam, a lot of bulk through the board, the hip's going to make it really nice and easy to turn. So, you know, really for anyone, kind of begin intermediate, but definitely intermediate advanced. And then also for someone who's bigger, who wants to get like a lot of foam in a smaller, shorter performance package, I'd really check out the hip toe. Also, I can't go past the Exoflex technology. It's absolutely epic. Felt great in the pool, felt great in the ocean. It's my third Exoflex now, and I just can't fault it. Look, overall, thanks so much to Stu and Ryan Campbell from Campbell Designed for the opportunity to check out the hip toe. Definitely one of my favorite boards I checked out at Urban Surf and in the waves back at home. And I hope you get a chance to check one out too. Thanks so much for watching.